Good evening, it's the Student StarCraft AI tournament once again with me at the helm because Shanko has been having a brief holiday, so I'll be doing two games or two casts in a stretch. We've got more games of course, and we are starting out with Antigua versus Microwave. The theme tonight will be all about having a look at the contenders for the throne, because the throne, as you might well remember, and that is aside from CIG 2019, looks like a lot of Protoss, and yeah, the resolution is not good enough, but we had an update of Locutus yesterday, and well, the ELO is approaching 2,800. That is quite insane. Purple Wave sort of hanging in there. McRave already 200 points behind there, and basically after that it's the rest. But the question is, where is any serious opposition to Locutus' dominance coming to come from? And I think right now it's with Purple Wave, but Purple Wave didn't update after CIG, so that's hard to fathom. But perhaps we will have more... Oh, sorry, AWIDE was won by Locutus. We will have to see what kind of upgrades we'll be receiving for 2019 finals of our tournament. And running up to that is, of course, is Microwave, because if you look at the four Protoss at the top, then it's Halpan, then it's Beta Star, and then it's Crazier Protoss with Cheese, then Ironbot, then Steamhammer, Proxy, Antigua, Microwave. And after that it's really, well, and Microwave is somewhat actively updated, and you can see Antigua's update has been a while. Proxy's last update was January, but still doing okay. Steamhammer receiving good updates. Ironbot and Halpan, of course, both of them are still working. Crazio, you never know what's going to come out Crazio, but should be one of the contenders, really. Beta Star is the new star in the Root War AI universe, and well, you never know what it's going to be, but for now it's in the top 6, and that's very good. Then Banana Brain, McRave and Purple Wave all should have a shot at the title, but really the question is, how do you go about beating some bot as dominant as Locutus? It's not going to be easy. So starting at the bottom of the ranking of those with a view to take games of Locutus anytime soon is Antigua and Microwave. And I like to build up like this because it's so very easy to show only the games of very top bots, but right behind that is a lot... Oh dear, I did something stupid. Oh god, yeah, that was good. Okay, so let's rewind. The two Zealots are coming to come in, and the Sunken is not going to be done yet. So that is unfortunate. The other Sunken is in the main, which is, well, build order-wise not ideal. The Sunken does finish, but then it's gone, and then Microwave will send out another drone which gets killed instantly. And that, of course, is not good. Some Zerglings are on the way, but I fear that it's just a bit very, very sluggish, and yeah, two Zerglings are obviously not going to cut it versus now 6 Zealots. They're going to be cut to pieces, and one Sunken. I think that if you play a game like this versus Antigua, that Locutus is going to be one hell of a contender, and Antigua is doing okay. SimCity is okay-ish. Units are being sent out. Of course, we are not going to find out what the mid or late game is, because Microwave this game just didn't feel up to a fight and rolled over towards the enemy, and that's just a handful of Zealots and the Goon, and that is the game. So it's safe to say that Microwave will have its work cut out for itself. Then we have got Ironbot, and of course I took a game versus Killer because Killer is quite good. Marion Deveka has got a good understanding of the game, and if there is anyone, not really from an AI point of view, but from a Brood War point of view, that might be seeing a way to beat a very dominant Protoss, I'd say it would be Marion Deveka with this bot, Killer Bot. And you can see here the scout going off, but getting killed. That's quite good defense versus scouting by Ironbot, of course, everything got scouted, so no tight wall, but now it's all blocked. Killer is going for the double Overlord scout with a quick-ish hatch with a sunken, immediately warped, morphed in a safe place, and I think that's good, because then with a couple of Zerglings you can sort of hold the ramp, prevent any kind of run by. Another building over here might be nice. This, if it is a sunken, it should be a little bit more. No, it's not. Over here. And Ironbot with the great gate mechanic is setting up for a run by, which might prove problematic, but there is another sunken. And now let's see if these vultures can get anything done. The SCV is not there. That's important, because now they cannot be repaired and the vultures are not really doing anything. The Spire is ready, so there may be mutas any minute now. Behind the vulture pressure there is a natural starter, so build otherwise these bots are doing okay, and the mutas are going for the kill. They are going after the vulture, which is not ideal, but more mutas are on the way, and I think that Killerbot doesn't really have a record of units hidden in his base, but now the mutas are on their way. The turrets are coming up. This one might just be a little bit late, and that will allow these mutas to carve a little bit of a hole. Oh, this one will be repaired pronto, but the mutas still might do a significant bit of damage, and they should not really be engaging the turret, but can they kill it? It doesn't look like it, with 4 SCVs repairing. But the Muta Cloud is growing, and these vultures are not doing anything. And these vultures want to run by, but they don't really have the guts at this point. So the Muta threat is there, but there are 2 turrets and they are being repaired, while the SCVs are mining over here. But you can see in the middle a lot of SCVs and turrets and marines are falling, so damage is being done, and the drone count is not being hindered by the vultures. The vultures over here are not engaged. These ones are not attacked at all by the mutas flying by, and the mutas are doing a lot of damage, taking some as well, but the Muta Cloud is growing, and now this turret may be all for it, because the Muta Cloud is just too strong. How many have we got? We have got 16 mutas in a single cloud, and that is a lot of damage to repair for these SCVs if that damage is focused on a single turret. Look at the damage, it's just 2 swipes and it's gone, even with 4 SCVs repairing, and that's the main base. So, ooh, couple of drones are getting killed. Might be a little bit safer with a couple of turrets here, but I think all in all, that killer is looking strong. If you can do this to one of the strongest Terrans, it might be a very good thing to have. Now, of course, oh, this is not good at all. This decision making of repopulating the main while there is a cloud of about 24 mutas now overhead is not worth it, and these vultures could have run by around the back. So there is room for improvement in iron still, but you know that these are, I don't know. This is just going to be over because there are no SCVs anymore, and that's a 30 cloud Muta Cloud, 30-person Muta Cloud, so that's going to be done. So looking at one more contender, or 2 more contenders actually, because Halpan is of course based on Ironbots, and I know the authors of Iron and Halpan are working closely together, and they might as well, because there are just so many good Protoss out there. It's just not even fun anymore, unless you like to code against Protoss. And you can see that this is going to be an early scout. The probe is going out, going in the wrong direction, and this is what I like a lot, that you won't just let get anyone into your base for fun. The scouting SCV is there, and Beta Star is going for a 1 gate with range, looks like. Gas is being mined. Of course, improvements here could be made as well, because the Cudas will make a SimCity over here, so it can take its natural a little bit more safely. And the same could be said for Halpan, because you could do this as well. I think you'd need another depot just for this, but the advantages of that are that you can more easily get... Oh, now 2 goons. That's a lot of pressure, and there isn't really anything ready for... there is a tank coming, and siege mode is researching. A lot of SCVs are repairing, and the SCVs are not being targeted. So the tank might just save this, and the goon is going to retreat, and that's a lot of mining time lost over here, and the naturals already started. So now with the siege mode, And I don't really agree with these goons attacking the depot first. If there are SCVs they could have taken out, or tanks behind that. And now the command center is already there, waiting to be moved to the front. And now the tanks are going, hopefully, to clean the path for the SCVs and the command center. Natural up and running for Battlestar. So Battlestar doing okay macro-wise. Should be taking the third as well, and is now lining up some Dark Templars. And I fear that, or is it going to be drop Dark Templars? That would be very cute. If you've got Dark Templar, right now there is nothing to scan it. There is no scouting SCV. Oh, and this is pretty weird. But the Goon Micro is not really up to scratch, and this Goon might actually get it. And there are no reinforcements. Oh dear, here it comes. It's a shuttle. The Dark Templar are gone, I believe. And we've got 6 Dark Templar. We've got only, I saw 1 here, 2 there, so there must be 4 in the shuttle, but it can't unload because it's trying to unload straight in the middle of that command center position, I think. So that's problematic. Battlestar build order-wise, absolutely magnificent. Third base on the way, but the Dark Templar could be a lot better, and the Goon Micro could be better as well, should be better, because this is just absolute rubbish. There is no detection anywhere, so 2 Dark Templar here and 2 there could have settled it all. And now the Dark Templar actually is in a mineral line, and of course there is going to be an academy, and there is probably going to be an eBay. Oh, there is an eBay already, and there are spider mines, but this damage is just not funny for a Terran to sustain. And I wonder if this command center gives up the ghost, if that shuttle full of Dark Templars will unload. And I like this, just killing the command center, and no, it's just not going to do anything. That's pretty. Better start team, if you are watching, it's... Oh, these tanks are so strong. So, Halpan is not out of this yet, but... Oh, I'll be damned if it hasn't received a major setback. And here is the next wave of Protoss units coming in already. This turret might... Oh, barely doesn't finish. Would be great against that shuttle and against the Observer, but right now there is nothing here. There is no repair on that tank. That's unfortunate. And I think this is as good as the game, because the third's operational, no cannons there, might be a nice thing to have. Just build a forge, you're going to need it for upgrades anyway. And just 1-2 cannons to prevent vulture run-bys. Macro-wise, Battlestar though is in a great shape. The goons are doing okay, they've only got range, Zealot's got leg speed, and this is over. Too bad about the shuttle DTs, but you can see the potential. Oh, and here are the cannons. That's absolutely... That's the pylon, and there will be a cannon soon too, I believe. But that is pretty well done. So there are cannons, could be a little bit more promptly built, but Battlestar as a macro bot is doing absolutely okay. And if you can do that to one of the leading Terrans as a new bot, you are doing fine. So, going to call the GG, and I must say, after that, we've got one more game with contenders. It's Proxy versus McRave. McRave, as I told you, is doing okay. It's just 230 points behind-ish Locutus, and Proxy, with an update from January, is doing fine as well. So, this must be said. This is a relatively small map, 2 players only, so let's see how this game is going to unfold. Proxy, of course, we know can macro like the best of them, doesn't really have the late game high-tech units control, and I think that is not really what is necessary to beat a good bot like Locutus, because Locutus doesn't even let you get to the late game. It's so brutal, and McRave... Well, McRave has got a SimCity, but it's a little bit late, and that means that the scouting drone can get in there now, safe for any kind of a run-by thing, and this Overlord is pretty dead, and that's unfortunate because that's a lot of money, and especially if you're going for 2 expansions at the same time. And alternately, if you know that the enemy is going for a fast expansion, Forge Fast Expand, it might just as well be a good idea to just get that extra hatchery and this is just a little bit overkill. Is there Zergling speed? No, there isn't. So you're basically wasting a lot of Zergling energy. Oh, and the probe is... No, the probe is going to get itself stuck. That's unfortunate. But here goes a scouting probe, and the first Zealot is escorted back home. So McGrave pretty safe, and then the question is, what are you going to do? Because the enemy has got an equal worker count, and as a Zerg, that's not bad at all. And now Proxy is going for a lot of infrastructure, and you really should do something about those scouting units. Is there Zergling speed? Yes, it's being started. Ooh, McGrave is going for +1 air, and that I think will mean that we will be seeing either carriers, which would surprise me in a Protoss versus Zerg, or Corsairs, but the Corsairs are pretty late, and McGrave I think could trim the build order down a little bit just to get more, because now you've got a handful of Zealots, and we're at this point in the game, it's about the 6-minute mark, where 6 Zealots are not really as much of a threat if they are on the Protoss side of things, and Proxy is going for a hell of a lot of Zerglings. That must be said. Have they got any upgrades? +1 armor is coming up, and a Hydra upgrade. And right now you should just be sitting back, take more bases, because these Zerglings are not going to do anything versus the Zealots, and they're just going to plow in there. That's just throwing away Zerglings at this point. +1 weapons for McGrave. That is very good, because then the Zealots can kill those Zerglings in 2 instead of 3 hits, of course, and that's very beneficial. The scouting drone is there, and now 2 Corsairs are coming out. And there is nothing there to protect the Overlords, and you can see that Proxy is already very much supply blocked and going to suffer more and more losses. The money is ramping up. There are eBays, not eBays, the Zerg eBay, that's an Evo chamber, but there aren't any creep colonies, so no spore colonies. So that's a bit of a miss micro, and wow, all the Zealots are chasing this one drone. That's absolutely ridiculous. But with 2 Stargates, I think that Proxy is going to be supply blocked for a long time. Now there are some Hydras. And the Corsairs are flying straight over the Hydras. That's not good at all, and this might be a spore. So, oh, the Corsair micro is epically bad. They're all getting killed to the same 5 or 6 Hydras, and that's not good, because there are already a lot of Zerglings at the Protoss gates, and now there will be Hydras as well, so yeah, that's not going to cut it, obviously. And as a Zerg, you might just build 1-2 spores and then place your Overlords on top of those, just for some extra safety. And now all the Hydras, which could be putting a lot of pressure on this poor Zealot army, which is completely stuck. Lots of upgrades coming in for both players though. That's just taking a lot of time for your Hydra army, that they're not able to do anything. And now the Corsairs are stuck, and now they will find the Overlords unprotected. Will these come in to help? I really wonder why, but can't imagine. So now it's going to be a big engagement, but the Hydras, they have got decent upgrades, they've got range, they've got speed, and there is a High Templar as well. So now I think that the Zerg is going to be doing damage to the Protoss, but ideally you might need some more Hydras, because although there are quite a lot, there are a lot of Zealots, and 1 or 2 good Storms will really wreak havoc with these poor Hydras. And the Corsairs are completely stuck over some cliffs. That's... oh, these have found some Overlords. And Proxy is supply blocked again, hasn't taken a 4th base. So, build order-wise, not really the best. It seems really rather fixed. And the army of Zerg is really rather small. Protoss has got multiple Dark Templars, High Templars, a lot of Zealots. Oh, storm dodging is okay. And this is going to hurt, because there is really nothing except these High Templars which can effectively fight. Oh, there is a Dark Templar. But this Protoss army, there should be an Overlord here, but there isn't. And Zerg is majorly supply blocked, but Zerg is just going for it at this point. But I think they cannot really break through, because the Protoss has just such a great army, and the 3 Dark Templars are now going to do massive damage. And this game is over, just because you haven't got any protection against the Corsairs. That's completely rubbish. Worker count for Proxy is stagnated, and now the Protoss army is out on the move, and McGrave didn't look as fresh as could have been, but Proxy really needs some work to really shine, because it looked a little bit clunky. Even if the Corsairs of McGrave didn't really work as well as planned, there is just no Overlord left, and there are a lot of Dark Templar just dishing out the damage by the bucket load, and there is just nothing here to stop it. So with one base and a handful of workers, it's not going to happen. McGrave, feeling the free air of not being contained any longer, takes an expansion and is there, but I really feel to be able to take on Lecutus. Proxy's opening is okay, it's strong, should have a better follow-up, and McGrave could be a little bit stronger in the early game, because it played very passive. The Corsairs are not very good, and the ground army was huddling in the main base a really long time, and the enemy could have just out-expanded and done something with the map which wouldn't be conducive to late game play as an adversary. So yeah, there we go. GG for McGrave, well done. And now let's hop into a series of direct confrontations with Lecutus, starting with Killerbot by Marion Diveka. It's a large map, so you should have some time before the first Protoss units hit you, and then see what is going to come of this. Lecutus is going for a Forge Fast Expand. That should be good for Zerg, but then again, you never know. The natural is started and another scouting drone is being sent out. And this is weird, but the first cannon and the scouting drone run away. Oh, and that's a ninja expansion right here. That's pretty good, especially as the scouting probe is just sitting over there scouting out the main base. I like that. That's such a nice trick, and that really shows, amongst other things, that Marion Diveka has got a good grasp of the game, and will so be able to take advantage of the less well-versed enemy. Now, these Zerglings of course can't get anything done, but if they do not get themselves killed, they will have to buy time really. Oh, and another hatch. Killerbot really going for the macro throat here. Worker count equal to that of Lecutus. We saw that in McGrave versus Proxy earlier. And now Lecutus is really going to keep up with worker production. The main is a little bit oversaturated or fully saturated, and the natural not really fully saturated yet. Here comes the first goon, and that is the point at which, as a Zerg or as an opponent, you've got to be really wary, because these goons are so good. The range isn't even done yet, but Lecutus is just sending them out because the opposition consists of Zerglings and Overlords, and you can always kill some of those just for good measure and just keep the enemy on its toes. Oh, and one sunken only. That's not good at all. There is nothing for Killerbot, and if you see these goons leaving the base, that would be the time. Oh yes, that's the point where you need the sunkens. The natural completely overrun, going to be lost probably, and I can't understand the emphasis on this base, and that really strikes me as odd from Killer, because that's not going to work. But then again, you might set up your lurker tech here and just lose the main base. Of course, it's not worth it, but if that is the motive after this setup, I can sort of understand. But then again, you are just going to have your base scouted over here if you lure the enemy onto it, and then it's going to be completely ridiculous, because lurker aspect hasn't even started yet. It's just 12 workers versus 3 bases now, and Lecutus is just going to not give a damn and roll up this base. So yeah, might be a little bit better executed, this lurker play, if it was going to be a lurker play. For now, it's just going to be the GG. Lecutus at its 4th base yet, and this shows you the gap that exists between Killerbot and Lecutus. So first contender will show you how much work actually needs to be done for Killerbot to be able to take on Lecutus. So now the other Zerg. It is Steamhammer, and remind you, Steamhammer still we've got Steamhammer, Proxy, and Microwave over there. And Killer is a little bit further down, but Steamhammer is the highest ranking Zerg at this point, and let's see how it will fare versus the might that is Lecutus. Lecutus now going for, again, Forge Fast Expand. It likes to do that on bigger maps, just to be on the safe side, and the scouting probe is getting in and seeing everything. Keep scouting both the natural and the main. I like that. That's a nice touch. And it looks like we are going to be having some Zerglings. Yeah, that's good. Should just keep it on there. Just going to be in touch with the enemy, and that I think is a good starting point, because if you are in touch with the enemy base, you can sort of see anything coming out of it and then take appropriate measures, something that Killerbot neglected earlier. So it's a 2-base, we've got a Hydra Den, and we've got some Zerglings, but of course a 2-base setup with Lycurgus, which has got a worker lead. And again, the goons are out there already, but now there are Hydras going to try and take a bite at the goons. And it's going to be a little bit of a tug of war, but the Hydras, you can see the Hydras are just running too much. They are a little bit jittery, they don't really commit for more than half a second, and they take a lot of free hits because of that. And the goons, they take some hits as well, but I think, oh, now the goons are taking a bit of a pummeling. 1, 2, 3, 4 goons dead, and now they're going after the buildings, which is completely ridiculous, but they could have taken out the cannons, and a lot of pressure is coming from the Hydras. Will they get more upgrades? They have got speed, they haven't got range. Range would be ideal, because the goons will have range and will be able to outrange the Hydras. Now some Zerglings are coming up, and Microwave is getting a lair and something else behind that. That's really the puzzler, because in a tug of war kind of situation, you'll need to make a decision what you are going to do. And now they're going for the base, but they don't really dare and attack it, and they are losing a lot of Hydras in the process. And now there is nothing here. There is an Evo chamber and there is a lair, but it's just not enough, and this Sunken is rather late and is not going to be able to help. There is a couple of Hydras, and the Hydras are doing okay. The problem though is that Lycurgus behind it is starting a 3rd base. 3rd base for Steamhammer is late and is scouted, and there are goons dispatched to deal with that. So decision making wise, Lycurgus is in an excellent shape, is going to take down the 3rd, and these Hydras are just too hesitant. They do not really want to commit for more than half a second, and although I know it is hard, it will be something that is needed to beat a good bot like Lycurgus, and this Sunken setup could be a little bit tighter, because although you might prevent a couple of run-bys, your workers are under attack, and those are critically important, because you've only got 20 against the 50 already of Lycurgus, and Lycurgus is also able now with increased goon production and greater army size just to overrun the Sunkens, and this, yeah, good, it's cancelled because it could just get itself killed. Microwave, you can see these Hydras are moving back and forth all the time and getting killed regardless, so in the end, tighter army control is needed, and you've got to decide what you're going to do. If you've got the enemy on the run, you've got to keep pushing, keep making Hydras, and just keep it down. And this right now is over. Lycurgus is already in full macro mode. Upgrades are not yet forthcoming, so that's interesting, but every base has got its complement of cannons, and if your enemy base looks like that, it's time to call the GG, and I think Steamhammer just did that. Okay, so now we've got Dragon, and Dragon, of course, the Terran implementation of Cherry Pie by TSMU, and you never know what TSMU is up to. It might be something brilliant, it might be glorious inactivity, it might be the cheesiest, the wonkiest play you've ever seen, and it's just not really. Oh, this is an interesting position for, I think, no Forge Fast Expand. It's 1-2 gateways. What is Dragon going to do? Dragon is going for a lot of workers, no kind of SimCity, at least a couple of Marines. That will be good, because there will probably be Zealots soon. And if you put down these buildings, yes, that's so very strong. A 2-gate with the tandem of Zealots, and there are only 2 Marines. There is no bunker, there is nothing. And Dragon is going for a factory, but that wasn't really fast enough, I think. There is 1 Marine in the melee of the SCVs. They are defending themselves quite handily. There is another Marine. The SCVs are taking a lot of damage, but doing okay. The factory is done. There might be a Vulture soon too. Lots of SCVs dying though. The worker count is plummeting. But the Marines, with the 3 of them, have things under control for now. The follow-up is late. I don't know why a pylon is built over there, and now there is a vulture as well, so for the time being, oh, but here is the first goon, and that was why there weren't any zealots to follow up, but the goon runs straight into some ranged units and is taking a lot of fire. But the vultures take some time to dispatch that probe, and they keep on pushing, and now it's just, there is nothing here. There aren't any gateways yet, so if... Oh dear, dear, dear. And this is a really badly placed bunker. That's just not good. There are goons. Have they got range? Range has started. The expeditionary force is somehow in a dangerous position and now being rolled up by the superior goon count. And right now you are going to need tanks or better placed bunkers than that. There is a tank, there is a bunker, but the tank is just not in a good position. No repair. This SCV was really slacking there. And although there are some Terran units, right now I'd give the game to Lecutus because it's got the higher work count, it's got the higher army count, and there aren't any Marines in the bunker. The Marines all sat outside and got themselves killed. Same goes for the Vultures. Vultures without mines are not going to beat goons anytime soon, especially in inferior numbers. Repair is going to help Dragons stay in the game a little bit longer, but this unit composition is just not going to cut it, and you really need 1-2 depots just to block it, and you need repair on the tank, supporting units. Right now it's not going to work, I feel like. Oh, that's a double expand for Lecutus. Lecutus really sort of analyzing correctly that has got map control right now. Just taking bases at liberty, rolling over that single siege tank, and Dragon is having a hard time just getting a single unit out. To 22 versus 0 army supply, the workers are being killed, and Lecutus is all over this. Look at that, just expanding everywhere. A little bit slow on the upgrades, but if you've got the game won, and that is what makes Lecutus so dangerous. It will make all the right decisions, stay on your back, and just be there until you roll over. It's not going to be hesitant, it is not going to let off. These goons are really the work of the devil. They are so tough to fight, and it's so beautiful to watch. Because even if Lecutus is right now the tyrant of the Brute War AI game, it's so very, very, very beautiful to see it do its thing. And now the wall is too late. The scouting probe is getting in, and that's something that you should try and prevent. It's just late. If it's late, it's no good. If it's late, it's no good. And Lecutus is taking measures to block off the enemy from getting any intel from that base. And then, of course, as a human player, you would say, oh well, cheese alert. There you go. So, Lecutus, what are you going to do? Saving money. It's going to be goon range. So, it's just going to be goons. But you didn't know. Oh, this just very sloppy. Very sloppy indeed. Now, the SUVC is just going to be goons. Might devolve into some kind of a Dark Templar thing. And now, I think at least Iron, with this war and this tank, killed the scouting probe, is doing okay, and now starts blasting these goons with the repair being on point. I think that's good. Should wait a little bit longer till you have some more goons, just to be sure you're not going to lose any tanks to goon fire. Spider mines are there, so ideally you just set up some mines over here with a couple of buildings just for good measure. And Iron is going to play it really safe. There is a bunker there. Are there Marines? No, because the barracks is... Oh, the barracks is just over here. So a couple of spider mines over here might do wonders. So Iron didn't die to the early game. And then you are in a good position because you can just build tanks. And I think that Iron somehow sniffed out the Dark Templars, either with a scan or with the scout. Ooh, but it's going to be drop Dark Templars, and I don't know if Iron's going to be ready for that. There is a mine over here, but the vision range might be about this. You are not going to see that shuttle coming probably. Lecutus with a third expansion already, and that's mainly because Iron's sitting back, taking its sweet time. There are turrets in the main, but... And I do expect that this shuttle... Oh, just skirting the side range of that turret. At the edge, 1, 2, 3, 4 Dark Templar. What is the reaction of Iron? It's nothing. There is one siege tank. immediately going for the comsat. There are turrets, tank blasting. One Templar dying. Another one dying. The turret is not being repaired. The scan goes off. And now Iron somehow helped this, but without... Oh, perhaps it would be safe not to draw back your forces from the front just to be sure, but that was really tight. Those 4 Dark Templars really did a murderous job on the economy of Iron, and of course with the 3rd base operational, the 4th base already started. The initiative is clearly with Lecutus, and although there are siege tanks, there aren't all that many of them. So if you've got siege tank, you really need to prevent this kind of stuff from happening, because this one is really exposed, and that's just so dangerous, because losing tanks at this point is just not an option. And ooh, that is good. The harass with the vultures, killing some zealots, and the wraith over here just being annoying means that Lecutus can't project its full attention to the front, and then you can build up your siege tank count, but the siege tank count will have to be managed really carefully, and I don't know, with the economy that Lecutus has got, it's already safe to do a 2-base attack, and there are observers everywhere, and the army of Iron is just too stretched out. There are tanks, and it looks like a lot of damage is being done to the units of Lecutus. The wraith is overhead, and finally the observer just gets another scan and killed, and Iron is really doing a dangerous push. It's not really overextending, but it's very tight, and some turrets being built in the wake of this army, and Lecutus' army is sort of stuck. You don't see that all that often, so if you put pressure on it, the vulture sweeping in from the bottom, all the goons getting killed, and now it is 50 versus 13 army supply, and although Lecutus is macroing like a champion, taking another base, Iron is taking a 3rd and playing it very much more safely. That is absolutely brilliant, and now it's got a contain on the natural choke. Lecutus under a lot of pressure. There is a lot of economic activity outside of the main base, but nowhere is there going to be a relief force, because all the production is in the main, and there is a science vessel overhead, there is a wraith, there are a couple of wraiths overhead, and what's more important, there are 10 tanks with supporting units right at the main, and Iron is playing a beautiful game. It will be worth a lot of ELO points just to take a game of an opponent which is approaching 2,800 ELO points. That's insane, but Iron shows it is actually possible to do this, and this is a bad place to take an expansion if there is a lot of pressure on you. And Lecutus has got a lot of money, but it's not getting any forces to the front, because the front exists of a meat grinder, and you can stick your hand into that, you can stick goons in that, you can stick anything in it. It's just not going to work. You need to be able to flank, you need to be able to push. Perhaps a small contingent and drop something in here. It might be a handful of zealots, just anything to take the pressure off your main base. But right now the main base is going to be overrun, because this defensive setup, which was a boon to Lecutus earlier, is now going to be very, very dangerous, because there are way too many tanks. Let's look at the upgrades. Iron is building +2/+2. That is excellent, because it survived the early game, and it must be said that Lecutus had a cheesy tactic which was shut down, because there were just enough turrets and forces in the main base, because the raids could have turned out differently. But now Iron is doing a lot of damage and has found the other bases as well. So right now Iron is losing units over there. That's not good. Ideally you just roll up one tank, kill the cannons and be done with it. But still there is no production out there. So if you can survive, look at Iron macroing. It's so very, very beautiful. If you can survive the push, if you can survive the first couple of goons, if you can put pressure on Lecutus, and that's a lot of ifs, but if you can do that, Lecutus is just a mortal and will bleed. And I'm going to let this game play out, because Iron is so... It's a well-deserved win. It was really good play by Ironbot. And perhaps I think that Iron is a little bit stronger than how Pan in big games was a strong opponent, and doing a little bit of friendly fire to its own tanks. That's unfortunate, but now they just don't siege anymore. And Locutus is not going to give up its main. That's really weird. Now it's trying to start something here, but there was just too much stuff interfering with that, and now there is going to be 100 supply army just rolling over everything, and this base is not going to be built anytime soon. Here come the tanks, and that's the GG. Must be. This base under attack. Now the restart is here, but the restart is late. It's just very, very late. There is money. Just plop down a couple of gateways, try to get something done, but nah, not going to work. Ooh, we've got +2 air attack as well. And that is the game. Shutting it down in style is Ironbot. I really would like to have this game as the last game, and not because the Locutus lost, but because Iron just played a marvelous, marvelous game. I took the game of Purple Destiny, and that is something that might be considered as well, because as a random bot, and I don't really should look that up in the rules section, if random play is actually allowed. Random only in the round robin phase, so you got to pick a race, and that's going to be making it more difficult, I think, because personally I feel that if you can code a random bot which can compete with the higher tiers on the ladder, you might be as well entitled to play the finals with that, but of course it's following pro rules, and I can understand that. I sort of will stand by that, because you just got to pick your rules and just can't change them at the last moment. That's not good. So, but Purple Wave won CIG 2019. Did it? Okay, so no tire tournaments. Where is it? CIG. Of course, it wasn't updated. Oh yes. CIG 2019 was won by Purple Wave, 18 won by Locutus. And then the AWIDE, I keep forgetting that. 18 was won by Seda, by Samsung. And who then won? My memory is absolutely bad. I think Purple Wave won that, surely. Seda won 18, and Purple Wave, yeah, Purple Wave won it. Okay, so that's why I picked this game as the last one, and that's why I'm regretting not seeing the 2019 AWIDE update of Purple Wave, the Protoss incarnation, on the ladder yet. Ooh. That's sloppy, just losing a couple of Zerglings for no good reason. Again, a big map. Moonglaive is a splendid big map. You can see here that Locutus is going to deal with some kind of a lair play. One sunken, worker count very low for Purple Destiny. Now ramping it up quickly, but this first Zergling thing didn't really work, and you might as well just consider, well, it's Locutus, it's not going to work. First Zealot getting killed, the first goons under heavy Zergling losses are not being allowed out on the map. Second sunken over there, that's good. You just need to have some presence on the map, and what kind of presence is that going to be? Is it going to be Hydra Den and then Lurker play, or is it going to be a Spire? That's the big question at this moment. The third base is out, that is good. Oh, and gas is there already, so there might be money for both Lurkers and Mutas with... Oh, that is... Yes! Fighting together with the Sunkens, these Zerglings can hold back the goons. That's critically important. Now there are Mutas. Mutas should wait, and you should probably keep them out of sight until you've got a pair or a small group. Muta Ling might do well, but these Mutas are very fragile, and you'd much be much better off just fighting off the goons with the Zerglings and the Sunkens, because you are going to damage them, and that is good. Now the first muta out over here, it's just not going to be worth it. You need to have them in a stacked formation. The third base is up, no workers there. Worker count, Locutus, is now 40. But now the Hydra Ling is moving out, or the Muta Ling, and the Muta count is absolutely bizarrely low, and they should be with the Lings, all of them, in a stacked formation, no questions asked. That's, I feel, going to be a hard requirement if you're going to take on a Protoss like this. And they're just not doing anything. They're back at the rear, too far away. Now there are 5. And now you got to seek out this base. You got to keep Locutus down and not over fixate on this natural, because it's not worth it. Damn it, just see what's going on. There are so many goons. There are 2 cannons. You're not going to be able to bust that. And this base was completely defenseless, but you didn't see it. And now there aren't any workers over here, so that's going to be a problem, because the goon count is going to be increasing, and then with your handful of mutas and stray Zerglings, which are not fighting in a group, but just all over the place. It's just like watching TSMU. It's all kinds of stray mutas being just, and here are a couple of Zerglings. If you fight in a group, you are stronger. You must know that. And then you'll encounter a larger group and you die. And you retreat. Take the base down. Decision making wise, Purple Destiny has got a lot to learn. But this Muta Ling kind of thing seems to be working okay, even though there aren't hardly any upgrades. And the mutas are badly microed. Here comes the death train, and the goons think, well, let's not have anything to do with that, we'll run and they'll get killed regardless, that's good. But there are 2 more goons just killing this expansion. That's completely worth it. 3 mutas are being dispatched, but it's going to be bloody late. Oh, they're going back again. Oh, and 4th, oh god, this is just painful. Now the mutas do arrive, but they are only 3, and they're going to take a lot of damage, and you can see this one goon is taking shots at the hatch just to get it down, and now the mutas have things sort of under control. The army size for the Locutus isn't that great either. There is a Corsair now, but there are Scourge as well. 3 bases, worker count for Purple Destiny could be higher. The big problem is that there is a 4th, soon to be 5 base situation going on, and they're not doing anything! Ah! It's just beyond me why you would have an army and not use it. And Purple Wave is not playing badly, but it's just not good enough. Now there's an... you're not going to fight a Corsair over an Archon. That's just plain misery. If you are a muta and you get those kind of orders, it's just not going to work, and Locutus is just going to do its thing. Take bases, just post 2 cannons at each of them, and even if there is going to be concerted harass, you'll have time to send over some forces. Now it is 50 versus 10 army supply. It is over, and mainly because the army micro of Purple Destiny is not good enough at this point to contend with the Locutus. Here are the goons are all over you, getting some mild upgrades, and that's a lot of upgrades while you haven't got any forces, and that's just got to be a thing, because a couple of macro hatches might do wonders as well, because there is money, there is just no larvae for production. And at this point it is over, but there were moments in this game where Purple Destiny had a chance to get Locutus down, and Locutus is just not going to give it down, just going to take every base on the map. Worker counts stuck at 75, I think that's okay, because you are going to need a large army, and that is this. So yeah, we saw Iron taking 1 game off Locutus, the rest was not as fortunate, and this is the immortal army of Locutus taking yet another victim. That's the GG. Thank you everyone who has been coding, has been watching, suggesting games, and Shonko will be back next week with a broadcast. I have been doing 2 in a row. Say thank you for listening, for watching, and be sure to tune in next week again. For now, Locutus remains king of the hill, and we'll see for how long that will last. Good evening and goodbye.